Sprinklers hissed along the block. 3 quick knocks rattled the peephole on Mrs. Albright's door, then quiet again, like the house had swallowed the sound. Dispatch stamped the call at 10:47 p.m. By 10:52 by my watch, I was on the porch, dew licking the toes of my shoes. She opened up in a dark robe, hair tidy, pulse not advertising anything. The chain slid back with a small metal sigh. "Detective Moran," I said. "Yes." One hand at her collarbone, the other on the door. He was inside, tall, fast. I hid in the bathroom until it was quiet. Inside looked messed with, but not hurt. Cushions dumped, drawers gaped, frames on the mantel still squared to their old dust halos. On the entry table, a bowl of keys shone like candy. Next to it, a rack with labeled hooks. Front, back, garage, guest. One empty hook. Back. "What's missing?" I asked. "A music box, my grandmother's. Mahogany, ballerina," she said, blinking as if that should be enough. "It plays Estrellita." The doorknob wore a bright wipe in the center and dull metal at the edges. I bagged a single dark hair feathered into the knurling and let the rest of the scene breathe. The back door's strike plate had old screw holes and new screws. Somebody had changed hardware recently, and not that well. In the bedroom closet, a cedar shelf held a panel whose grain didn't match the rest. The screws in it were too bright. I wrote it down as nothing and kept moving. Canvas, the department scraper that hoovers up doorbells and porch cams, turned up a neighbor's feed. A dark sedan sliding by at 10:51, then coasting again at 10:53. The neighbor's clocks drifted 40-some seconds from mine, which happens. In the second pass, the passenger leaned out, tore a strip of tape from the plate, and snapped back in. 2 frames of a wrist and a glint, too small to swear to. Traffic kicked back a list of likely cars from partials and make. One name we knew, Arthur Jenkins. Old burglaries, low rent smash and grab. Nothing this tidy. He drove a black 4-door registered 2 streets over. We burned an hour looking and found it in front of a duplex, hood warm. Bugs starred across the grill. Jenkins answered barefoot, chewing. "I was with family," he said, pointing over his shoulder. Laughter, TV noise, chicken bones on foil. "Birthday thing. Car's mine, yeah. I ran to Lombardi's for ice around 10:40. Came right back." "Which Lombardi's?" "On Lakeside," he said. "You want the receipt? It's in the trash." The receipt said 10:49:38 p.m. A clerk remembered him? The guy with the scuffed knuckles who asked if we had tape. Jenkins' knuckles were scuffed. He said he'd been moving a couch and smiled like moving couches was a hobby. At the lab, the doorknob hair came up shaft only, no root, cut clean. They found talc from cheap gloves and a whisper of barbicide. Salon transfer or costume wig shed, the tech said. If it's his, it didn't decide to leave the head tonight. Mitochondrial work couldn't exclude Jenkins. It also couldn't exclude half the city. Bank records landed hard. $49,800 in cash out of Mrs. Albright's account 2 days before the call. The teller remembered the transaction because anyone would. On ATM footage, the customer wore a ball cap and kept their head down. The left wrist pushed the on-screen withdraw all button. Something slim flashed at the cuff, bracelet or watch band catching light. 3 women at that branch wore the same style. So did half the mall. Mrs. Albright came in for a formal. "I didn't authorize any withdrawal," she said. "My ex might have access, or the cleaning service." She was clear on the music box and foggy on the money, and it was easy to read both ways depending on how much coffee you'd had. We chased the car, Plate readers had Jenkins near the Albright Street, westbound at 10:45, eastbound at 10:54. He gave it up quick. He'd turned his phone off to avoid pings on a suspended rideshare account. Still did cash runs for regulars. "Look," he said, "I'm not breaking into rich houses. That gets you dogs and cameras. I sold 2 bags of ice to a cousin and put tape on my plate because the tags are late." "Passenger?" I asked. He hesitated just long enough. "Girl from the mall. Wanted a lift, cash in hand. Didn't give a name. Had one of those tiny bracelets." He pinched his own wrist. "I don't look at jewelry. I look at the gaslight. Lakeside Galleria, the mall, had 10,000 wrists and any number of tiny bracelets." We pulled more video and found a cap and bracelet shadow in the bank vestibule. The angle didn't catch a face. We found Jenkins' car idling in the lot at 10:36, a small figure getting in, jacket hood up. Either of them could have been the hand. Meanwhile, the house kept muttering, back hook empty like a habit, not a moment. Closet panel off grain, bright screws, nothing clinched. Anyone with access could have used it. We still had a clean-looking doorknob and a hair that read more theatre than biology. We put pressure where it would talk. Lombardi's ceiling cams caught Jenkins buying tape at 10:49 and ice at 10:50, alone. 3 minutes earlier, a woman bought disposable gloves and a bottle of bleach, paying cash, hood up, head down, left wrist flashing something slim when she tucked change into a pocket. Her height matched Mrs. Albright's within an inch, but so did 8 other women on the tape. Height isn't a verdict. "Tell me about the box," I said when I brought Albright back. I didn't lead with the money. "It plays 15 seconds before it sticks," she said, surprising herself. "You have to tap the lid to coax it." She showed me with her hands. A little tap above where the ballerina would be. There's a screw on the bottom that's off-center. My father fixed it badly once. That was new and oddly intimate detail. The kind you give when you're telling the truth. When you've lived inside a lie long enough, it becomes furniture. "What about keys?" I asked, looking past her at the interview room door, not at her wrist. "Anyone else with a copy of the back?" "The gardener," she said. "My sister, the cleaning service." A beat. "There's also a spare somewhere, but I never use it." "Where's somewhere?" She smiled lightly. "You tell me, detective." Jules, my partner, leaned against the glass and said nothing for most of it, then met my eye when Albright left. "She's telling you the part that costs least," he said, and went back to his coffee. We wrote the paper and executed the warrant. The closet's bright screws turned like they'd been told this would happen. Behind the panel, the music box, wrapped in white tissue with teal stars. The same tissue Lakeside Salon uses for gift cards. The bottom plate showed new driver scars that ignored the old holes. Under a shallow false floor, 2 bank straps with the branch stamp and date, no money attached. The rest of the cash sat in two crisp stacks, bound with a hair tie. Also tucked inside, a labeled back key on a house-shaped tag that matched the empty hook by her door. The key had a smear of faint blue polish across the bitting, the kind they sell by the gallon at salons. Her mom had a store at the mall, Jules said, flipping the tissue. "Name?" "Lease notice on her table said Lakeside Suite 214, I said. Albright and Curb's hair. He grunted. The barbicide whisper from the doorknob stopped being shy and started making sense. None of it put her hands on the license plate or on the ATM screen. It put someone with her habits and her access inside her closet, with cash she'd said she didn't have, and a key she said she didn't use. The neighbor's second camera, the one turned to watch his boat, gave us our cleanest timing tell. At 10:52:14, the Albright porch light popped on, At 10:52:19 by his clock, the dark sedan coasted by. At 10:52:21, the passenger leaned out to tear the tape free. The hand wore a slender bracelet with a dangling charm. As the wrist turned, the charm swung and caught light in a shape like a cursive A. The same shape stamped on the mail piling in her entry tray and etched on the salon's window. Fair play. The frame was grainy enough that 6 defense attorneys could call it a reflection. The bracelet wasn't rare. We could buy 5 at the mall in 20 minutes. We sat Jenkins again. "You drove a passenger from the mall to this block," I said. "You waited. You removed tape because you didn't want a traffic cam ping on late tags. Why wait?" He stared at the wall behind me. "She said her boyfriend was breaking up with her," he said. "Wanted to see his house lit up. I don't know. People say things to drivers." He swallowed. "I didn't go inside her house." "Her house?" Jules said. "The lady's," Jenkins said, then shut his eyes. I figured it out from the mail on the table when she went in and came back out. Big fancy A on everything. "What did she come out with?" "Nothing I saw," he said. "Maybe she left with it earlier. Maybe she left with nothing." "Did she touch your plate?" He nodded once. "She told me to. Said the police don't like tape. He wasn't our angel. He also wasn't our burglar." We brought Mrs. Albright in with the box on the table between us. I wound it a half turn and let it go. The tune struck bright, then caught and thought about itself. She watched the ballerina tilt. "You said you didn't authorize a withdrawal," I said. "Your bank's ATM shows a left wrist pressing withdraw all. Your closet holds straps stamped with that same day. We found your back key in a bag inside the box and salon tissue around it. Lombardi's tape shows a woman buying gloves and bleach minutes before Jenkins bought tape." She set her hand on the table. The bracelet lay flat. The charm, whatever shape it was, hid against her skin. "I have a sister," she said. "She borrows things and returns them in the wrong place. She also wears bracelets and keys." "We'll talk to her," I said. "We'll talk to the cleaner, the gardener. But the person who knew where to cut the closet panel and which screw to strip is usually the person who stripped it last time. You told us your father did. He didn't bag your back door key inside your music box. And the polish on that key is salon blue." She looked at the box as if it might help. "The salon was my mother's," she said finally. "The mall changed our lease. I had 2 weeks to find money or pack memories into a U-Haul." "Who helped you?" I asked. She shook her head, a small, absolute movement. "No one," she said. And that at least was a lie I could hear. Paperwork took the rest of the day. Conspiracy, false report, grand theft, obstruction. We released Jenkins on the charge we'd been secretly hoping would stick. It didn't. He left lighter and older at once. "Next time I'm staying home," he said, "even if we're out of ice." The sedan turned up a week later behind a storage mart. Steering column clean, seat set for someone smaller than Jenkins. Prints were a smudge party. The passenger door had a palm smear just where you'd brace to lean out and mess with a plate. It looked like everyone and no one. When the bullpen finally cooled and the copier stopped sulking, I signed a chain of custody form. In evidence, the tech had left the music box on the counter. I wound it and let a short line of Estrellita spill into the quiet. It brightened the room, then caught on the burr again. One small click holding back the rest. The spring still had music in it. So I figured did someone else.